Well, it's still dark. It's just the very beginnings of light over there. We stayed overnight at Lochs Meadows Country Park, which was a nice kind of Britstop type site. Very pretty lake, but it was a car park, and people did come and go. And though in the end, you know, there were a few people there late-ish. Not sure what they were up to on a Saturday night, but in the end it was very peaceful, and we slept well. Lots and lots of geese on the lake, so the only noise was the geese, which was fabulous. However, I decided that Tilly deserved a better walk than she's had recently, and she does love beaches. So we've now come over. We're on the east coast. This is Leven, and we're in a car park waiting for the sun to rise and having some breakfast. And I have some muesli, and I have my trusty AeroPress, which means I will have some very nice coffee, and we can make plans for the day. Now, the other thing, of course, about staying in a car park is that we didn't have any showers or anything. There is a small loo that hides away in a cupboard down here, which is very useful. I might make use of, there's a leisure centre just up the road which I think has a swimming pool, and I think I might go and have a shower and a swim after breakfast and after walking Tilly, and that'll be a great way to start the day. Hopefully today we're going to go and have a look at St Andrews. Right, breakfast time. Well, Tilly is having great fun here. She's decided that there really shouldn't be any birds on this beach, and she's going to make sure she clears it of them. I don't know what these big things are out in the estuary here. I mean, they look like oil rigs. Are they really oil rigs this close in? Maybe they are. It shows how little I know about the area. Well, the sun has come up. Well, just about. How are we here? Yeah, no, the sun is definitely up. It's just not very obvious yet. And Tilly has charged up and down the beach, and I think made up for all the walks she hasn't had for the last few days. So now we're going to go over to the leisure centre over there, or I'm going to go over to the leisure centre over there and see if I can get a shower. And then we're going to hit the road. You know, it occurs to me that swimming pools provide a lot of what you need when you are on a campervan trip. They provide nice hot water, showers, often basins for shaving and things like that. Didn't bother this morning. You could plot a route that went from swimming pool to swimming pool, and you'd just find places to stay overnight in between. But I'm not sure how plentiful swimming pools, especially ones like that, will be up here in the middle of winter. So, but it's a possibility for other times of the year. I think there's probably nice scenery over there. We're going up the Fife coast here, or the Gulf coast, as I like to think of it, because there are golf courses all the way up. I'm getting occasional glimpses of the sea, and I suspect there are lots of very nice coastal towns to go and view. But we are heading for Crail and a tea room and gallery. We'll see what that's like. We are here in a little town called, I think it's called Pittenweem, though I may not be pronouncing that right. And we didn't mean to be here. I was just driving along and saw a sign saying historic harbour, and I can never resist a sign saying historic harbour. So this is an historic harbour, and it's a lovely spot. And there are some serious boats here. Definitely feels like a working harbour, and it's lovely to see one that's on this scale. Yeah, I can see that after a hard day at sea, coming into Pittenweem harbour could be really quite a nice homecoming. And look, we have sunshine. Isn't that fabulous? We are being dazzled by bright sunshine over there, which is a novelty, but there are also one or two small raindrops falling on my head, so just to let us know nothing has really changed. This one's called Endurance. Should think that's an appropriate name. Wonderful line of seagulls up on the roof over there. Now don't you jump in there, Tilly. This is the old slipway, I guess. Doesn't look as if this has been used in quite a while. I tell you what, you would want to know the clear routes to harbour here, because there are loads and loads of these rocks sunken just under the surface here. Coming in on a dark night would not be an advisable thing to do if you didn't know this coastline. But what a lovely town! And I nearly drove right past. What do you think here? Do you like the smells? Does it smell good here? It's pretty good, isn't it? Better than the car. Yeah. This is Anstruther, just up the road from Pittenweem. I'm only pausing here briefly, but it's like sort of Pittenweem on a larger scale. But I do think Pittenweem was cuter. Still, this is also very nice. And I imagine particularly good in sunshine. We did have sunshine back there, which we don't have here. So that probably also makes a difference. Okay, on to Crail. So this is Crail, which is also very lovely, with noisy seagulls. And the harbour is down that way, and I'm sure this would be worth exploring, but I think I've decided actually we're going to press on to St Andrews to make sure that we get there, get to see some of that, and then get on to our campsite before it gets too dark. So Crail, I think, may have to wait for another day. But down below us here, with a hint of sunshine on it, is St Andrews. It's the birthplace of golf, and it's also home to a castle and a cathedral and a great university, so I'm looking forward to seeing what it looks like. One thing they certainly have in St Andrews is some good street names. Okay, this is St Andrews Castle, which I might go into later, but they don't allow dogs, so Tilly can't come. And actually, there's not very much to it, to be honest. It would be fun to visit,
but I think I might come back on another occasion, maybe when Rose is with me. Great outlook from my castle there. There are lots of signs around here about Scottish martyrs. This was George Wishart, who was brought here, put in the sea tower, condemned for heresy and burnt at the stake on the 1st of March. That was in 1546. Luther was having a strong effect around here. You know, coming from Cambridge, we get spoiled by the buildings and all the colleges and so on. There are some fine buildings here, but not many compared to Cambridge. On the other hand, Cambridge doesn't have this. You'd like to be down there, wouldn't you, Tilly? Yeah, you'd rather be down by the sea. Come on, go. Let's go and see the cathedral. One thing Tilly's very good at is getting me wound up. So, literally wound up. So I have to keep doing a little dance like this to unwind her. Whichever hand I'm holding her lead in proves to be the wrong one, unless I go out of my way to try and make her walk on the same side as my hand. See, Tilly, you've done it again. Hey, you gotta go. I'll do a wee dance there. Let's see what we can do here. And this is the cathedral, which is quite dramatic, or must have been quite dramatic. Get a feel for the scale of it, because there's enough bits still standing for you to see the two ends. See the base of the pillars here. Wow. This is when it would be very cool to have a time machine. Just imagine going back and seeing what this looked like when it was all intact. It's interesting how there are several towers, pieces still standing. I wonder if they've been reconstructed or whether they really are all original. So this is St. Rule's Tower, and this was the forerunner, it says here, to the cathedral. You can see what the old church looked like, probably looked like in the middle of the 12th century. And the tower still exists, which is quite cool. You know, St Andrew's Cathedral is a ruin, and actually it's been rebuilt several times. It was blown down and burned down and all sorts of things happened. And it's very sad. You can get some idea of its former glory, but if you're going to have a ruin, it's a pretty dramatic one. I really like it. And look, we've even got a little bit of sunshine as well. No, Tilly, I don't think they'll let you in.
They might.
They might.
I'll buy his ticket.
This is downtown St Andrews, and there's a crystal shop here. Yeah. There's one born every day. main street, actually a finer street. This is Market Street, and it's less of a highway than the other one we were on over there. Well, this is a little campsite called the Beeches, which is quite sweet if you like very, very basic. Now, here there's no electric hookup, there are no showers, there's almost nothing except a field, and that's not very flat. But if you have space to move around as we have, you can find yourself a reasonably level patch down here. And the toilets look kind of interesting here because they're over in this half of a container basically, and they look as if they're probably going to be very primitive, but actually if I can get in, it's hard to do this quietly. Inside there's a separate little room, and the light doesn't work. That could be fun. But there is a toilet here. There is a toilet, but no light. Okay, so you may not be able to see that. Wonder whether anything can be done. That looks like a fuse box up there. So, anyway, you are pretty much on your own here, except you don't have to use your own loo. And Tilly is looking very handsome in front of the van over there. So, warning, CCTV security system in operation. This is very good because, you know, you wouldn't want anybody to damage that, would you? But I think if that road noise, a little bit of noise from the road there, if that dies down overnight, this is going to be actually a very pleasant spot. There's a mist rolling in over that way. Actually, there's mist all around. You may be able to see it. I'll hold this up a little. And but these trees are lovely, and the ground is strewn with beech nuts. So just one other caravan here, and I'm not even sure if there's anyone in it. So it's going to be, I think, a fairly peaceful night. I'll see if I can find out how to turn the lights on in the bathroom. Right, well, we have the roof up, we have the insulation on. It's going to be quite cozy, I think. Temperature's dropping out here, but we have a good heater. So we are just going to go for a little bit of a walk before the sun finally disappears. And then we'll come back and make ourselves cozy. Well, who knows how much of this will come out on the GoPro, but this is pretty atmospheric. Mist all around, some trees, a field of, I guess these are the stumps of, I don't know what gets harvested and leaves a stump like that, but I've seen these in lots of places, and sheep feeding on them, and there are actually a few sheep way over behind the trees over there nibbling at them, so clearly the sheep like them. But in just a minute we're going to have to turn back, I think, rather than going into the forest. And the van is back that way, and we may come and have a look a little bit more along here when we have daylight tomorrow. Well, here we are. We are inside and warm and cozy after our walk in the mist or fog, and just making a cup of tea. Got my big flask here. If I haven't said this before, I love this Stanley flask. Stanley make tools and things. I'm assuming it's the same company. It's not the sort of company I would think of for making a vacuum flask, but these things are brilliant. Not the lightest, but they keep stuff warm for ages. So yes, recommend the green Stanley flask. Anyway, so I'm boiling water for a cup of tea, but I'm also going to put some hot water in there so that I can use it for some washing up later. So we've had the heater going a bit, so it's much cozier in here now. I've turned it off just for the moment so that because it makes a certain amount of fan noise so you can hear me. But
it's interesting, you know, it's, what's the time? 4:45. And we're basically starting to close down for the night. Well, not close down. I've got plenty to do for the next 4 or 5 hours before I actually go to sleep. But it is interesting. This must have been, you know, imagine medieval times where you didn't even have, you know, light at this point. What, you know, or candlelight, yes, but just think how much electric light must have contributed to the productivity of mankind. It's just amazing to think about. So I haven't really made plans for tomorrow. I thought we might perhaps have coffee in Dundee or something, but I'm going to have a look and think about where we're going to stay. It might be nice to park up somewhere for a couple of nights, either tomorrow night or the next night, so we're not constantly driving. And I'm wondering where the best place for that might be. Somewhere perhaps where there's laundry facilities would be even better. But the further north we get, of course, and the nearer we get to Christmas, the closer, the fewer of these options there are. So I think you know, I should probably start booking ahead a little bit if I want those kind of facilities. Though, you know, I'm getting more and more comfortable with this off-grid stuff. I don't have a solar panel. You know, I have wondered about this. Not that there's a lot of sunlight at this time of year, but my leisure battery, which runs things like the fan for the heater, that's the most important, and the fridge and these lights, you know, is a pretty good one and should last quite a while. And as we're driving, it charges up again. But, you know, I don't know how much driving is needed to charge it up by the amount I'm likely to have used it during a typical day. Looks as if this is nearly boiled here. I can check the level of the battery here, and it is leisure battery 12.5 volts, so that's very good. I mean, it's fully charged up again after it's you know, after our driving around today. But if you have a solar panel, that's just always trickle charging it, and that just basically means you don't ever have to worry about a hookup unless you have very unusual power drains. Anyway, time I think for a cup of tea. Well, I'm not sure it's worth even trying to film here. I'm wearing my trusty head torch, which may make me more or less visible because it may dazzle the camera, but as long as I don't look at the camera too directly, we'll see whether you can see me. We have come for our morning walk. Tilly is just down here, and this is a place called Morton, Lochs, and we are just a little way before dawn. Yeah, it can't be very much longer now. And this is a beautiful wood, and there are some bird hides here. That's what I'm surrounded with. The one up there is locked. The one down here isn't, but the windows are all frozen up. It did drop below freezing last night. But lovely woods, and if we extend our walk long enough, we may actually be able to see some more of them. But we can hear all sorts of interesting ducks and pheasants and probably other things that I don't recognize down here. Tilly can hear them and is quite enthusiastic about them. There's just a hint of a few drops of rain. I think it's not quite snow, so maybe, well, we'll either need to brace ourselves for that, maybe get back in amongst the trees and hope it's just a light shower. This is really lovely. And it's also still quite dark, and it's one of these trade-offs. If I were to hang around here, I'd probably get some lovely photos. But it's also raining slightly, and I don't want to get me and Tilly too wet before we need to set off. If I had a tripod, silly Quentin, always bring your tripod. If I had a tripod, I could get some lovely shots here. But there aren't any convenient wood stumps or anything to rest a camera on, so I think it might be challenging to take any real images here at the moment, unless I wait for the sun to come up a fair bit more. But it is rising fast, and each moment there's more light. It's almost palpable. You know, you can sense it. I wonder, no, I think there's still not quite enough, but I might try taking one over in that direction and just seeing what it comes out like. I'm gonna have to do the Tilly dance again.
The light is growing, the rain is also slightly increasing, and we are heading back towards the road and eventually back to the van. So this very straight path that we've been following here through the forest was a railway line, and you can see this rather splendid railway bridge behind me. Steam trains originally, the line closed in 1959 apparently, and over this way we're getting a rather lovely sunrise. And ahead of us here is the road back to the van, which, even though we've now done it several times, we've never actually done it in daylight before. So it's actually rather pleasant to see what the surrounding countryside is like. Here we are back at the van, and as you can probably tell, it's just started raining rather harder, and so I think I'm not going to take all the insulation and stuff off yet. Probably I am going to find my key, and we can have some breakfast, and then we'll get on the road after that. One great thing about vans with these tailgates is that they form a nice little porch, and if you can get your foolish dog to stand underneath it, then they can stay dry. Yeah, okay, let's give Tilly a bit of a dry down, and we can turn some heat on, make some coffee, and then we'll be ready for the rest of the day. Well, we came outside to take the insulation off the outside of the van, and we've got sunshine, and it's lovely, and it really changes the character of the place. I mean, it was always lovely, but in a kind of melancholy, gloomy kind of way, and in weather like this, it's really very pleasant here. The ground underfoot is interesting. You know, I thought coming onto this site, which is slightly sloping, very wet, and I was wondering if I might have, you know, there might be some danger of me getting stuck, but in fact this is moss, not grass really, and whatever's underneath it is pretty solid. I don't know if it's just straight onto the earth or quite what the, you know, maybe it's very hard clay or something, but anyway, I had no trouble driving on and off here. Anyway, time to get this insulation off, get some more light into the van, and then we'll be on our way to Bonnie Dundee. You know, it's funny how the weather can change your perceptions of a place. I arrived, it was nearly dark, it was a bit gloomy. I came here and I thought, what's this loo over here that's in a container with the light that doesn't work? I thought, why am I even paying £5 to stay in this place? But you know, it's grown on me, actually. Having discovered that there's a really nice wood within walking distance that way. Tilly's clearly happy here. We had a very peaceful night. You know, there's a road going by, but it was, as far as I can gather, completely quiet after we went to bed. And even this rather quirky toilet. Now you can see a little bit in here. You know, there's no actual light, but there is a loo and it works, and there's a basin and it works, and they've even got some little, these things, these little lights probably, I don't know if these work. Yeah, there you go. So they have provided some lights, at least of some sort, in here. So it's, you know, I've stayed in more basic places, and actually, I think, particularly if you came back here in nice weather, you know, warmer and drier weather, it's quite a long time actually since I've had anything that might be called dry land underfoot. I think this would be a lovely spot, and it's on the other hand, of course, you might not have it to yourself if the conditions were like that, and that would make it a little harder to find a flat spot, but nonetheless, the Beeches, this is called the Beeches, near Tayport. And the house, I think it may be the big house up there. We're just going to go and pay our fiver, and then we'll be on our way. Well, this is Tayport, and over there is Dundee, where we're going in just a minute. Well, this is the centre of Dundee, and rather grand Count Hall behind us, which I'm guessing is a concert hall. But like so many towns, it's kind of blighted by this rather ugly shopping centre in the middle. But I'm going to go and explore a little bit. We haven't got very long here. That's the Tilly dance again. Haven't got very long here. But we will just have a quick look round to get a feel for the city. I would never have guessed what this curved building is, but this is Dundee Station. I guess it's kind of top bit of Dundee Station, and the trains must be below us somewhere, but it's a bit noisy here. It's actually quite a cool building. And then over here, as we come down to the waterline, we have the Discovery, and this is, I think, the Vna Museum here, which is really quite a cool building as modern buildings go. Well, we're here on the waterfront. Over there is the old Tay railway bridge. Over here is the much less beautiful modern road bridge, which we recently come across. But ahead of me here is the Vna Museum, which is rather fun. It's got a prow sticking out over the water. That would be fun to visit at some point when I don't have a dog with me. And just beside it here is the RRS, the Royal Research Ship Discovery, famous for its Arctic expeditions. With Captain Scott and Shackleton and so forth. And it's been beautifully kept or restored. Very good. She was built in Dundee, which is why she's exhibited here. And just over here there's a big sort of entrance and no doubt exhibition centre, which again sadly can't go into with Tilly, but it's a very cool ship to see. We'll go around and have a look at the prow in just a minute. And there she is. What a beautiful ship. I would love to sail on her. Built, I think I saw she was built in 1901, just after the turn of the last century anyway. Very good, well worth a visit, I imagine. Over here is the Mcmanus Art Museum. splashes of sunlight on it. That's a great staircase though. It would be worth, I think, coming back to Dundee for the museums. That is interesting to know. Dundee is, I think, the 4th largest city in Scotland. Population just a little bit bigger than Cambridge's, but at the moment. But it's a city with a great history and a large port. I think the port would be one of the more impressive things to see. Don't think we'll do that on this trip, but still very busy port. I think now mostly involved in dismantling ships rather than building them, sadly. But there you go, there was our little whiz around mini tour of Dundee. Now we're back to the van. Well, Dundee has many things to recommend it. One of them is not its 4G signal strength on either of the 2 networks I have. It's very poor, but some of that's probably down to the thick stone walls of the building. Right, tonight we are sleeping at Stonehaven Caravan Park, which is on the coast just south of Aberdeen. So we're heading into Aberdeenshire, and it's about an hour's drive from here. Maybe see if I can get some lunch on the way. Haven't quite decided whether to stay at Stonehaven for just 1 night or 2 yet. We'll see what it's like and how the weather continues and so on, and then we're going to start going a bit northwest and eventually over to the west coast. So, okay, off to Stonehaven. Just up here is a sign to Glamis, spelled Glamis, and Glamis Castle is just behind us, and this always makes me think of Macbeth. He was Laird of Glamis, and Lady Macbeth's wonderful speech where she's trying to persuade him to take over the kingdom. Glamis thou art, and Cawdor, and shalt be what thou art promised, yet do I fear thy nature. It is too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way. Thou wouldst be king, but not without ambition, but without the sickness should attend it. And she basically works out that she's going to have to take some action to enable him to claim the throne. As Duncan is approaching to stay with them. And what's she going to do? The Raven himself is horse that croaks the fatal entrance of Duncan under my battlements. Come, ye spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, unsex me here. And it's wonderful stuff. Anyway, it's amazing what a road sign can trigger, isn't it? Well, this is Brecken Castle Garden Centre, and I just stopped off here because I thought I might get a sandwich or something. And make use of their facilities, and I went into the cafeteria and the sandwiches didn't look that appealing, but they had some pie which did, some steak pie, and so I thought, oh well, let's have a bit of that. And then it came with chips, then it came with peas, and basically I've eaten far more than I intended to for lunch. But it's actually rather a, kind of a nice spot. It was actually very good pie, much better than I expected to get from kind of a service station canteen. But it's really more of a garden centre that happens to be close to the A90 and has a combination of kind of cafe and has everything except petrol, really. Now, let's see if I've got enough room to swing out here. I think I can just do that. There you go. So yeah, that was actually quite good. And they made a nice latte for me in my little flask here, which should keep me going the rest of the way to Stonehaven.